Bible, if you would, and turn with me, please, to the book of Joshua. Joshua. You ever notice with different hymn books, how words are different between hymn books? And if you change, I get so used to singing without the hymn book because I know the words of most the songs for so long. And then I find myself singing one set of words and everybody else is singing another set. Okay. Not good. Before we get started, let's pray. Father, I thank you for this day you've given. I thank you, Lord, for your word and the opportunity we have to look at your word. I pray you be with us. I pray you speak to our heart, the word through it. I pray you encourage us, Lord, convict us, make us one another. Lord, help us to be prepared and ready to receive. Help us, Lord, to have hearts that are ready to receive, lives that are ready to be with some blessings. In Jesus' name, pray. Amen. The book of Joshua is a military book. It's written around 1400 BC. In all reality, it was an encouraging book because it was a book of victory. The setting of Joshua is rather interesting and unusual. It's unusual because in most cases, the setting of the book is not really given in the last chapter of the book before it. But in Joshua it is. So I actually want to go up to chapter 34 of the book of Deuteronomy. I want to read the chapter there. It's a very short chapter, it's only 12 verses. That really is the setting of the book of Joshua. It says, and Moses went up from the plains of Moab under the Mount of Nebo to the top of Pisgah. That is over against Jericho. And the Lord showed unto him all the land of Gilead unto the and all Naphtali, and the land of Ephraim, and Manasseh, and all the land of Judah, unto the uttermost sea, and the south, and the plain, the valley of Jericho, the city of the palm trees, unto Zoar. And the Lord said unto him, this is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob, saying, I will give it unto thy seed. I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not go over thither. So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. And he buried him in the valley of the land of Moab, over against Beth Peor. But no man knoweth of his sepulchre to this day. And Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his natural force abated. The children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. Then Joshua the son of Nun was full of the spirit of wisdom, for Moses had laid his hands upon him. And the children of Israel hearkened unto him, and did as the Lord commanded Moses. And there arose not a prophet since in Israel like unto Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face, in all the signs and wonders which the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt, to Pharaoh, and to all his servants, and to all his land. And all the mighty hand, and in all the great terror which Moses showed in the sight of all Israel. Now, starting the next verse. Now, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, into the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. From the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, unto the great sea, toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Be strong and of good courage. For unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land which I swear unto your fathers to give them. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses, my servant, commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper whithersoever thou goest. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Have not I commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage? Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. And Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, pass through the host, and command the people, saying, prepare your victuals, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan, to go in to possess the land which the Lord your God giveth you to possess it. And to the Reubenites, and the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh spake Joshua, saying, remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God hath given you rest, and hath given you this land. Your wives and your little ones and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side Jordan, but ye shall pass over before your brethren armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them. The Lord have I given your brethren rest, as I have, until the Lord hath given your brethren rest, as he hath given you. They also have possessed the land which the Lord your God giveth them. Then shall return unto the land of your possession, and enjoy it, which Moses, the Lord's servant, gave you on this side Jordan, toward the sunrise. And they answered Joshua and said, all that thou commandest, we will do. And whithersoever thou sendest us, we will go. According as we hearken unto Moses in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. Only the Lord thy God be with thee, as he was with Moses. Whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy command, and will not hearken unto thy words in all that thou commandest him, he shall be put to death. Only be thou strong, and be of good courage. As I said, it's a military book. It's a book of encouragement. It's in fact a book of victory as they're approaching this place. They're on the edge of the promised land. They've been here once before. They had made it to Kadesh Barnea once before. And in Numbers chapter 12 and Numbers chapter 13, they sent 12 spies into view out to observe the land, to look at it, to decide, not whether they should go in, but how they should go in. They were sent to view the land, and they came back, and 10 of the people said, we can't do it. We can't do it. God's will is good, and it's very clear, but it's going to be tough. And because it's tough, we can't do it. But there were 2 spies who set up plans. Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, the son of Nun. They were two of the 12. They said, yes, we can. If God says we should do it, we will do it. And guess what? Of that generation, the generation that was alive at that time above a certain age, there were only 2 left. Caleb and Joshua. In the intervening 38 years, 1,200,000 people died. That is 85 people per day died during that intervening 38 years. I can't imagine how busy they were. The fact of the matter was, now they're getting prepared to end the land. They knew they needed to follow, they needed to obey and do what God had said that they should do. Joshua had been there before and knew that God could give them the strength to do that. And in the previous verses we looked at last week, Joshua was challenged to enlist the resources that God had placed before him. He was reminded of the power of God, how that God had been able to do many, many things before him. He was reminded of the presence of God, that as he had been with Moses, so he would be with him. He was also reminded of the precepts of God, how that God, the book of the law, should not depart out of thy mouth. Thou shalt meditate therein day and night. Thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written. For then thou shalt make thy ways prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. He was reminded this with God. It needs to be in your life. In your thought. And now in the last few verses, as they're getting ready to go into the land, there's a work that needs to be done, but guess what? This work is going to be accomplished through the participation of all the people. They literally are invading this land. I mean, this is not almost, this is a real invasion. This is 2 million people on the way in. They've got huge number of people going in to fight. They're prepared to go into battle. They don't know what they're going to have to deal with. But they do, kind of, to an extent. Remember we talked about the battle previously? When they fought against the Amalekites? When Moses stood up on the mountain and held up his hands? And when Moses' hands were held up, they won. And when Moses' hands went down, they lost. Because it was God's power that would win this battle and not man's strength. But I want us to notice today, see, God accomplishes His work through the participation of His people. He really does. That's what it says here in verse 10. All this stuff we have looked at before, that was mainly dealing specifically with Joshua himself. God was talking to Joshua. He's saying, be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. Be prepared. Get ready to go in. I'm going to be with you. Your power is going to be resting upon you. My power is going to be with you guys. Hey, I'm coming with you. And He quite literally was coming with them. Starting in verse 10, he says, Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the host. Command the people, saying, Prepare your victuals. Within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go in and possess the land which the Lord your God giveth you to possess it. These guys knew what disobedience to that command had done to the previous generation. They were all gone. They were going to go in. There was going to be 100% participation. These guys were preparing to go. But I want to challenge you. There's 4 characteristics of the people God needs to do His work that I want to look at by looking at this small section at the end of this passage. First characteristic I see of the people God uses to do His work is He uses people who have a mutual goal. He uses people who have a mutual goal. Look at verse 10. Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, Pass through the host, and command the people, saying, Prepare ye victuals, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go in and possess the land which the Lord your God giveth you to possess. And see, the goal was to move forward into new territory. They, as I said before, had been there before. They had been on the edge of the promised land once before. And the people, instead of deciding to do what God had said, had rebelled against the people, and they wandered for 38 years. By the way, that's not the sin that did Moses in, by the way. Moses was against what they were doing. It was Moses, Joshua, and Caleb. The reason Moses died on the top of the mountain was because when God told him to speak to the rock, Moses struck it. And he said, Must we bring water out of this rock? And he struck the rock. And God said, Because you haven't sanctified my name in the eyes of the people. He says, You didn't hold my name up. You didn't give them the understanding of what I was. You died there. Do you have any idea what that was for Moses? Moses was 120 years old. He spent 30 years on the backside of a desert preparing to lead a people. Actually, he spent 30 years in Egypt getting educated. 30 years on the backside of a desert, 40 years actually, 40 years on the backside of a desert preparing to lead the people. God called him. He wasn't even ready to go. He didn't want to do it. He ends up being called, and for 40 years leads Israel's people. What was their whole goal? Their goal was to get to the land. That's all they wanted. That's what Moses' goal was. He wanted to bring the people into the promised land. That was really what he wanted. God said, Moses, you can't go in. And in another passage, Moses goes to God and begs God. He says, Lord, please, can you let me go in please. And God says to Moses, Moses, don't talk to me about this again. Don't even bring it up. God tells Moses, go up, view the land. I want you to see it. I want you to know it. I'm going to give you a taste of it, but you can't take it. And we look at that and we wonder, Moses is 120 years old. He's an old man. He really shouldn't have been going anyway. He's 120. He's old. Read verse 7. Moses was 120 years old, and when he died, his eyes were not dim, nor his natural force abated. Why does it say that? Does it say that to make us all go, wow, that Moses was some awesome dude? He had really good eyesight, and he was as strong as he was when he was a young man at 120. No. The reason God tells us that is he's telling us Moses wasn't ready to die. Moses wasn't ready to die yet. Moses died because of his sin. These people needed it. They understood obedience was required. And they were working together. They were going in possessed. They were moving forward. They were going forward to possess a new territory. They had a mutual goal. Their goal was to reach the homeland that God had promised them, had brought them out of the land, had promised them way back under Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And he had promised them once again when he brought them out of the land of Egypt, you're going to go in. I'm going to give you a land flowing with milk and honey. He tells them in the book of Deuteronomy, I'm going to give you homes that you haven't built. I'm going to give you vineyards that you haven't planted. I'm going to give you trees, fruit trees that you didn't plant. I'm going to give you wells you haven't dug. You're going to go in. This is going to be a great place. It's going to be a wonderful place for you, but you need to follow me. So their goal was to move forward. We, by the way, as a church, have a goal. The goal we have has been given to us by God. The Bible tells us in Matthew 28, 19, 20, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. The church's existence, the reason we're here, is to reach souls for Jesus Christ. That's why we're here. And then once they're reached, where our job is to dunk them, teach them, train them to become soldiers in the army of the Lord. Because that's our job. That's our goal. See, the people here had a mutual goal. These people were told, get ready, get prepared, we're all going to go in. Where's a mutual goal? Not only was there a mutual goal, there was a mutual effort. Look at verses 12 to 15. It says, the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh spake Joshua, saying, remember the words which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God hath given you rest, and hath given you this land. Your wives, your little ones, and your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you this side of Jordan. But ye shall pass before your brethren, armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them. Until the Lord hath given your brethren rest, as he hath given you, then ye shall possess the land which the Lord your God hath given them, which then shall ye return to the land of your possession and enjoy it, which Moses, the Lord's servant, gave you on this side of Jordan before the sun rises. We have the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh. As they're preparing to enter the land, these guys see they're on the other side of the Jordan River. And they look at the land and say, hey, this is really nice. I like this. This is a really nice place here. This is really, Moses, can we stay here? And Moses tells them, he says, you can stay. This is okay. You guys can stay on this side. This can be your possession. The Reubenites, the Gadites, the half the tribe of Manasseh. That's why Manasseh is on both sides. You guys can be over here. But you got to go and help. You're not done till it's done. You know what? In all reality, that's the way it is in the Christian life. We're not done till it's done. God wants us to work together. He wants total participation. That's the goal, by the way, total participation. For our own sake. Because He wants us to serve Him and have the ability and have the benefit of seeing Him bless us. It's also for encouragement, by the way. Moses tells these guys, the Reubenites, the Gadites, the half-tribe of Manasseites, you guys can stay. Your wives, your children, cattle, this is okay. But you guys are going over to help. And you're going to stay over there with us until we're done. Because otherwise, what are the other guys going to be thinking? We should have took the land over there too. Why did we even bother to do this? Would it be easier to stay over there? Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh, they're over there, and we're over here fighting, and every day working and fighting. We should have just stayed on the other side of Jordan, but it really was God's will for them to go into that part of the land and to take over that part, though they were given the other part too, but it was God's will for them to go in. So the fact of the matter is, we have a job to do. We have a lost world to win. We have people to encourage. There's jobs for us. God has work for us to do. And you can say, well, that's the pastor's job. I want to share something. Go with me to the book of Ephesians. It's a highly quoted passage and mostly misunderstood. I want to go to verses 11 and 12. I'm not going to go to the parts before it. That I think is even the more greater or misunderstood. We're going to start with Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 and 12. It says, they gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. And by the way, the pastors and teachers probably isn't a separate word. More than likely it's pastor-teacher. It's kind of the word that seems to be, but at least that's what most big people think. Here's the reason he gave it. For the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. And everybody looks at it and they go, see that? For the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. So the work of the ministry is the job of the pastor. It's the job of the pastor to do the edifying. It's the job of no. The Greek is extremely clear. The King James is not. Because what they end up doing is they end up using the same word for, because we only have like really one word for. We don't have a lot of for. Well, actually we have two words for, but the other one doesn't do that. Actually we have three words for, and the other one doesn't do it either. But the bottom line is, what it's really saying, the first for is the purpose. He's saying, he gave some apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers. Why were they given? For. They were given for the perfecting of the saints. So their job, it was to perfect the saints. Literally, and probably much better, you should translate the next for, unto the work of the ministry, unto the body of Christ. Unto the edifying of the body of Christ. So in all reality, what he's saying, the pastor's job really is to perfect the saints so they can do the work of the ministry, and that they can then edify the body of Christ. So, the job of the ministry, the pastor's job, all of it. It's all our job. It's our job to do the work of the ministry. It's the pastor's job particularly to prepare us to do the work of the ministry, but it really is all of our jobs to do the work of the ministry and then to edify the body of Christ. It's all of our jobs to do the work of the ministry and to encourage one another. That's the whole idea of edifying the body of Christ. So guess what? When you're in church, see somebody's down the mouth, encourage them. You see somebody who you haven't seen, well, I should say, you don't see somebody you haven't seen in a while. Encourage them. You know, don't get on them with the, where are you, sinner? I haven't seen you in church for a while, you ungodly thing. You know, that doesn't do it. You know, I mean, that might work with somebody you've got a really good relationship with that you can maybe just joke around with. Most times people need encouragement. They need someone to say, hey, we're praying for you. We'll miss you, we're praying for you. Is there anything that can help you? We need to encourage. See, the people were to have a mutual effort. There's a mutual goal. The goal was one. They were going in to possess this land, the land that God had given them, the land that God had promised them. He said it was theirs. They were to go in, they were to get it. There was a mutual effort. It was going to be 100% participation. They were all going to do their job for their own sake because God wanted them to do it, and they were all going to do their job to encourage each other too, because that is what our goal is. By the way, people often say, I can worship God just as good watching my TV. Probably true. But the part we can't do is the part, and the rest of the part where it says, not forsaking the assembling ourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another as is called today. He says it's our job to be encouraging each other. It's pretty hard to encourage the guy on TV. Pretty hard to encourage all the... We need to be doing it. That's our job. It's our job. See, it's not only is it a mutual goal, it's a mutual effort. I want us to notice not only is there a mutual goal and mutual effort, there's mutual allegiance. Look at verses 16 to 18. The mutual allegiance. Real quick, verses 16 to 18. And they answered Moses, saying, all that thou commandest us, saying, us we will do, whatsoever thou sendest us, we will go. According as we hearken unto Moses in all things, so will hearken unto thee. Only of the Lord thy God be with thee, as he was with Moses. Whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto thy words, and all that thou commandest him, he will be put to death. Only be thou strong and very courageous. What he's telling us, all this is the earlier part. The previous set of verses was mainly you have it going back and forth. He first addresses everybody. Then he addresses mainly Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. Now he's really addressing all the people. He's saying, hey, you guys need to be doing the stuff. You need to be following God. And he says they answered Moses, saying, all that thou commandest we will do. They're saying, we're going to follow God. We're going to follow God. We're going to follow God in this group. God has ordained you. We're going to follow him. We're going to follow you. And they say, it's another verse that is, I think it's not quite translated the way it would best be translated, but it's not translated really, I don't think, right in any version that I know of. What it says in verse 17, according as we hearken unto Moses in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. Only the Lord thy God be with thee, as he was with Moses. It looks like they're basically saying, well, we'll follow you as long as God's with you. That's really not what it is. It's really almost a prayer. They're saying, we'll follow you, and may God be with you like he was with Moses. It's like they're saying, we're going to pray for you. We're going to pray that God is with you, and he helps you like he helped Moses. Moses was a very unique guy. We saw at the end of the thing, it said, as I was, Moses is, he says, nobody is like Moses. God speaks to him face to face. Moses was amazing. In my opinion, Joshua's probably scared. Because he's coming into something he's not prepared for. Oh, he's a military guy. He can figure out how to attack an army. He can figure out probably how to sharpen a sword real good. And he probably is pretty good at killing people. But he's got to now lead a nation. And they're saying, we're going to pray that God's moving in the same way as Moses. See, there's a mutual allegiance. There's also a mutual encouragement. In verse 18, it says, whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy commandment will not hearken unto thy words, and all that thou commandest, he will be put to death. Only be thou strong and be strong and of good courage. Don't look at the negative part. I want to look at the positive part. There's a mutual encouragement. They're encouraged by the verbal cooperation and verbal encouragement with God's word. We're going to follow God's word. We're going to use God's word. We're going to follow God's word. And they're also encouraged by participation. These guys say, hey, we're all going to be involved. We're all going to do it. We all have little sayings, many hands make light work. We all ones like that. Guess what? It really is true. many hands do light work. It is the church belongs to the people of God. In fact, the church is the people of God. And it's through cooperation and participation of God's people that His work will go forth in this area. And then we need to do our part giving out the Word of God. We need to do our part encouraging people. As I've said, I think I've said this here. I know I've said it in other places. You guys are pretty good about this, but I'm going to still say it anyway. We have visitors walking the door. I should have to fight my way through you guys to get to the visitors. Because, seriously, we got to get there and say to them, hey, we really are glad you're here. Because, have you ever been in a church where no one agreed to you? Maybe you have. I have. I've been in a church where nobody knew me, and nobody greeted me, and no one talked to me. And it's not a very fun thing. And I never went back there again. And guess what? So do others. Let's do our part. Be a personal encourager, personal greeter, even if it's not your job. Even though you don't have to wear the little badge that says greeter, make it your job. I'm a greeter. So that whenever anybody comes in, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. And what's your name? Did you get a visitor's card? You know, be encouraged. There's a job to be done, and it's all our parts to do. Let's look at the Lord prayer. Father, I thank you for this day you've given. I thank you for your word and the challenge of your word to our hearts. Lord, I thank you for the principle I see, Lord, in the book of Joshua. Principles of victory. Lord, it is a book that speaks of victory. And Lord, I thank you for that. I pray you to speak to us and help us, Lord, to follow you, to follow these principles, Lord, in our lives, in our church, and in our ministry. I pray you bless us, and help us to honor you in all we do.